But that's just the fact of the matter, is those types of jobs are where the money is, because you can turn it around relatively quickly. We're going to talk about making money as an automotive technician and how if you actually quote less, you'll actually make more money per ticket, per repair order, and I'm going to tell you why. Alright guys, welcome back for another discussion video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. When we do these types of videos, we really just talk about stuff. Auto repair, the car industry, tools, car culture, all sorts of things, right? So these discussion videos, again, we just sit down and hash some of this stuff out. So one thing that I just got done talking to someone who recently opened their own repair shop, right? Just like we have here. So I spent, what, 8-9 years at the Toyota dealership before I decided to go out on my own. And you learn a lot, and if I had to do it again, I learned a lot at the dealership that was able to set up my shop here for success. And this isn't just going to help you if you're an independent or a shop owner like in our situation. This will help you if you work for an independent, if you work for the dealership. The storyline here does not change. The strategy does not change. I think that maybe in some ways it'll affect the independents more because of the age of vehicles that you typically see and work on, but as a whole, this will work for you if you work at a dealership as well. So I was talking to my buddy about, how we keep track of invoices. I think we've made a video kind of on this discussion before. One of the things my good friend Rick always told me is profit is not a dirty word, right? And I've said that before on the channel, but it's true. Like, we're all here to make money, and I think it often gets misconstrued that if you're a mechanic that's out there making money, that you're ripping people off, and that's simply not the case. At the end of the day, you guys, I care about my customers, but I'm not here for my health. I'm the type of person that I couldn't sleep at night if I felt like I did someone dirty or ripped them off. Like, I don't want that on my conscience, and I can proudly say I've never done that. I've never sold anyone anything that they don't need. I've never half-assed anything, and done a crappy job, and then so I just can't do it. Wouldn't sleep at night. But on the flip side of that coin, like, I'm here to make money. Like, yes, I want to help you get back on the road, and I want to do a quality job, and I'm proud of the work that I do, but I'm not here for my health. I'm not here for fun. I'm here to make a living so that I can make money, cover my bills, and have a good life, right? So I think that's the first thing you got to get out on the table. Is it's no secret we're all here to make money. What I was talking to my buddy about, though, is we were talking about how it's funny, the big jobs, the engine swaps, the transmission rebuilds, all of those types of things aren't really the jobs that make you the money. And you got to stay with me here. But if you do, let's say, an engine swap, and you're putting a used engine that maybe you freshen up on a stand in, I did this on a Sequoia. It was a 2003 Sequoia a couple of years ago. So the thing was, over 20 years old when we did this swap. Well, as you know, it's not as simple as just taking this used engine and slamming it in there. We put it on the stand. We put a timing set in it. We checked compression. We cleaned all the grease off. We put new gaskets on it. Because if there's a time to do it, that is the time, right? Well, this job ended up paying, I think it was $2,700, whatever, which sounds great, but it's not really the moneymaker in the automotive industry. Your moneymakers are the quick in and out types of jobs. I can tell you this from, 11 years experience. The brake jobs, the water pumps, the valve cover gaskets, those are all the jobs that are going to make you, money. They're in and out. You're essentially parts hanging things, but that's just the fact of the matter, is those types of jobs are where the money is, because you can turn it around relatively quickly. When I worked at the dealership, there was always this kind of, there were different sorts of incentives, all the time, because from the suits up at the top, it was always, make every repair order count. I feel like personally that can easily get misconstrued, and I saw in a lot of ways where that did not work in a lot of the technicians' favors. And here's what I mean by that. The dealership might have some sort of special that month, some sort of incentive for the techs, like we'll give you $5 for every brake job you sell, every air filter will get you a quarter, things like that, to try to get you to build more things per ticket. Because more things that are sold per RO, the tech's gonna make a little more money and the shop's gonna make more money, right? But it's a really fine line, because what you end up seeing is things being oversold. And this is now where I think in the independent world we see more of it, because the cars that we work on are older. So potentially, we always used to call it totaling it out. You could bring in your 25-year-old Ford Taurus, and outside of safety concerns, I could absolutely completely total out your car. Maybe the brake pads are at 80%, but they pulsate a little bit when you go down the road. So you recommend a brake job. Technically, is it really a huge safety concern? No, not, maybe the valve cover is seeping a little bit. Maybe the front cover is seeping a little bit. It's not dripping on the ground, it's just seeping. Technically, could you repair that? Yes. Do I need to quote it on a 25-year-old car? No. So what I mean is, you could easily total out a lot of these vehicles. And I worked with a guy, and I'm not going to name him, but at the dealership, he could not wrap his head around that. These cars would come in and he'd quote out, the timing cover, the valve cover gaskets, you haven't done your coolant flush, and all of a sudden there's like 12 recommendations on this car, and this poor customer is quoted, $7,000 worth of stuff. And of course they don't buy anything. You just scared them away, right? It's like he wasn't ripping people off. It's like, technically, is the valve cover leaking? Yes. Is it bad enough to where I'm like, hey, you really need to do this right now? No. And you got to read the room a little bit. Is the valve cover seeping on a 27-year-old Camry? Probably not that big of a deal. It's not dripping anywhere. Let's just let it ride, and let's focus on the ball joint that's going to fall out. And I'm taking safety concerns out of this. If you have 10 separate safety concerns and the car is a hazard, absolutely I'm going to quote all 10 of those things. If all 4 of your wheel bearings are going to fall off, and 4 of the ball joints the boots are ripped and they're clunking all over the place, and the axle, yeah, I'm going to quote that stuff. But if it's not a safety concern, you kind of have to prioritize the fixes on some of these vehicles. So, if a customer comes in, I just worked on an older Accord. It was almost 20 years old. They had an air conditioning concern. We checked that out, got that squared away. I'm looking over the car. The sway bar end link was broken. You can see that right here, and one thing I'll do is take pictures in case people want to see. So that was broken, so obviously I quoted that. I go around, do the rest of my inspection, and is the valve cover leaking a little bit? Yeah. Is the timing cover leaking? A little bit? Yeah. Is the oil pan leaking? A little bit. Yeah. But are they dripping on the ground? No, they're not. It's just a little bit of seepage on an almost 20-year-old car. So from an economic standpoint, from a business standpoint, if I take this vehicle and I go, you need a valve cover, you need a timing cover job, and you need an oil pan reseal, plus the air conditioning concern, plus your sway bar end links are broken, there's a very good chance that that customer, gets scared and is like, well, I'm not going to put $5,000 into this almost 20-year-old Accord. I'm just not. So now you've kind of backed yourself into a corner because you gave this customer a complex. And again, could these technically be fixed? Yes, you can fix a seep. Does it absolutely need to be done? No. And 9 times out of 10, what I see is now that customer is going to go, again, I don't want to spend $5,000 to do the timing cover, the valve cover, the oil pan, the end links, fix my AC concern. So they end up leaving without fixing anything. You are here to make money. So here's exactly how I handled this situation. I called the customer. I said, your AC was your first and foremost, your biggest concern. So we took care of that. This is what it would take to fix it. We're good here. Now I went and did the test drive. I did the code scan. I did the inspection on the hoist. I noticed the sway bar end link is physically broken. It's separated. So I'll send you a picture of that so you can see what I'm talking about. But that is something I would recommend fixing because it's actually broken. It'll be X amount to fix that. I did also find in my inspection that the valve cover, the timing cover, and the oil pan are seeping a little bit of oil. Based on the age of the vehicle, it's pretty common that I see this. It's not dripping on the ground. The oil level is fine. It's completely up to you. If that's something that you would like me to quote out, I can. But in my opinion, it's not something that needs to be addressed, right now if you do not want to. So at this moment in time, I just want you to be aware of it. And then I would recommend fixing those broken parts, and we got your AC concern figured out. Customers respond to that well. They're like, hey, thanks for letting me know. And it builds a level of trust because I'm telling you, yes, I noticed it, but I'm actively telling you, I don't want to say I'm, talking myself out of a job, but I'm telling you that maybe it's something we don't need to do right now. So now that builds a level of trust. And also now we recommend, the AC fix that we had and those end links. Well, that's not going to cost $5,000. So instead of just getting paid your diag, to look at this thing and then scaring them away, you've actually sold a job because you didn't total out their entire car. And I'm sorry, but unless it's a safety concern, personally, morally, whatever you would like to call it, that's how I like to operate my business. It's like, I'm going to make more money in the long run if I don't oversell everything to you. And I gave her the choice. I still informed her that there was in fact this seep, which, isn't that big of a deal. But sometimes I have customers that do really want those things fixed. They're like, I don't care if it's dripping, it's going to bug me, just go ahead and fix it. I put the power back in the customer's hands so that they could make the decision, and it, again, builds a level of trust, and ultimately, less is more. So because I didn't total out your car, I'm going to make more money. that's what I had for you in this one, you guys. Super interesting, right? And there's a lot of like psychological things that go into, you know, any job really, but when you're selling stuff, there's a lot there. And again, profit's not a dirty word. We're here to make money, but I think it's important that your customers remain informed, and that ultimately, if you want to make money, you can't be scaring everyone away by quoting everything under the sun on, you know, a 20, 30-year-old car sometimes. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, drop me a comment down below, like and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.